Bom dia, o meu nome é Gustavo e hoje vou fazer algumas perguntas ao Matt, que é o Head of Investments da Bondora, ok? Por isso, o que eu fiz foi criar uma publicação no Facebook a pedir a alguns membros para tirarem as suas dúvidas, ok? Isto vai ser uma entrevista em inglês, por isso eu agora em um minuto vou-me juntar agora à conversa no Zoom para lhe fazer algumas perguntas, para assim esclarecer estas dúvidas que foram postas aqui nesta publicação do Facebook. Okay? Antes de começar, eu quero admitir que não sou nenhum espada em inglês, ok? Por isso eu peço alguma compreensão da vossa parte, pois o meu inglês não é fluente.
Hi guys, my name is Matt Lanahan. I lead the investor product at Bondora and happy to be here with you today, Gustavo, to answer some questions.
So, how long do you think Bondora can hold if the crisis lasts forever? Imagine that the crisis lasts forever, okay, with the coronavirus. How long do you think Bondora can hold that?
Well, I mean, if the crisis lasts forever, then it's no longer a crisis because a crisis is kind of a change in what's normal, right? So if it lasted forever, there would be a development of a new economy and the whole world would have to adapt to that. But in terms of how Bondora is dealing with the crisis at the moment, we are a profitable company. So we're not losing money. We don't have to raise huge amounts of money to be sustainable. So for us, we have very low operating expenses as well. And that means that we can continue to operate sustainably throughout the crisis period without having to make any layoffs, without having to make any major changes to our services. So I think that's a really important and a really strong point for Bondora and our investors to know that we're dealing with this and we're well prepared for this environment as well.
Very well. Thank you. Next question. So this is from myself as well. What's the daily percentage of Bondora allows to withdraw?
Yeah, so I think you're relating to Go and Grow here.
Yeah, and Go and Grow.
Yeah, so within Go and Grow, we have activated what's called partial payouts. And I can give a short explanation on what that is in case anyone doesn't know. So in the event that you make a withdrawal, because we've had a high volume of withdrawals over the past couple of weeks, your payouts now come as partial amounts rather than the full amount. And this is purely for investor protection to protect the net return of up to 6.75%. And how it's distributed, so your original question, it's paid as a percentage of the outstanding withdrawal amount. So all of the outstanding withdrawal amounts receive a percentage, which is the same. It's not fixed, so it can change, so I can't give you a figure. But that will be the same for everyone. And it means that it will be paid directly to their account.
Okay, very well. Thank you. Now the following questions are a bit more complicated, but and a bit, some are similar, but they are very interesting. So, is Go and Grow money funding new loans, or it is only covering withdrawals at the moment? And what is the liquidity status of Grow and Grow?
We are still originating loans, if that's the question. So we're still originating loans into the portfolio. However, the current Go and Grow portfolio is made up of over 100,000 individual loans. And those loans are generating a cash flow every single day. And that's why the partial payouts are made every single day to an investor's account every business day. So we're originating new loans. The underlying portfolio of over 100,000 loans is still generating a cash flow every day. And we're also getting new deposits in as well. Yes, the amount of originations that we're doing are significantly lower than they were earlier in the year, more back towards our early 2018 levels, and the same for our deposits as well. But this was totally expected based in this environment.
Okay, very well. What Bondora is making about regulation? What the users are covered in case of bankruptcy of any of the stakeholders on the loan?
Do you mean if the person who has the loan defaults?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. So if someone doesn't pay back their loan, we have a 3-step collection process, which we've always had. Really kind of to simplify it, the first step is in-house collection. So we're trying to collect the payments ourselves. And if that doesn't work, it goes through to, it becomes overdue, becomes defaulted, and we file it with the local credit bureaus. So it's listed as a default. And then from there with the courts, if they rule the decision in our favor that yes, well, we are correct in this claim, it goes to the bailiffs. And then the bailiffs have the authority to get the cash flow back from the investors to claim that money back. Now, even though the loan isn't secured against, an asset, they can still freeze their assets and some their bank accounts as well, for example, to get that cash flow back for investors. And this is the same way that it's always been done with us. And we're continuously improving it in the way that we're trying to automate as much of it as we can. So we're not dependent on, different courts because they're different on different jurisdictions. Mm-hmm. So we're consistently trying to automate that and improve the collection recovery rate. And it's still the same in this period.
Okay, but I think that didn't answer the question of how the users are covered if the Bondora goes bankruptcy.
If Bondora goes bankrupt.
Yeah.
Okay, so if Bondora was to go bankrupt, obviously an extremely unlikely situation, but if we did, then no new loans no new loans would be issued or investments would be taken. And an administrator would come in to service the existing loans in the portfolio to generate the cash flow back to investors.
Can we move on to the next question?
Sure.
Is peer-to-peer investments at risk during this crisis? I think this is similar to the question before about the loans. So if you want to skip this question, I don't know.
Oh, I can answer. I can add something else. So, I mean, it's difficult to group peer-to-peer as one industry. And I think it's too often done that way because the business models of different companies within peer-to-peer lending are very different. For example, some may originate loans themselves, some may be an intermediary with different loan originators. There's a lot of different business models. And secondly, the underlying assets that are invested by those platforms are different as well. For example, it could be consumer loans, it could be real estate, it could be business loans. There's a whole range of different things. So I would say it's quite difficult to group them as one thing and to look at them as how they're all going to perform together. Whereas I think there'll be different performance levels within very different areas of businesses. So for example, for Bondora, we originate the loans ourselves and they are consumer loans. So if you look at how consumer loans performed in the crisis of 2008, they actually performed pretty well compared to some other asset classes. So I think, yes, with any investment, there is always a risk and investors should be aware of that. But I think we're quite confident in our ability to continue to provide the service to investors.
Okay, that's very nice. Next question. What is your objective for Bondora and why should we choose it in relation to other platforms? So this question is comparing Bondora with other platforms. So if you want to skip this one.
No, I mean, so our overall goal for Bondora is to build the most trusted investment platform in Europe. Yeah. And for us to do that, we have to deliver on our promises to investors. So I think a real advantage that Bondora has overall is we have over a decade of history. We've been active for over 10 years. This isn't something new to us. And I think investors really like that and they can trust us. They can see all of our data from that 10-year period, more than 10-year period. And I think that really builds trust. So for us, what's important is to continue to deliver on the promises to investors. And I think that will build even more trust going forward. So it's a real advantage for us to have that track record for investors, and especially in the years coming to say, we've gone through this coronavirus and this is how we performed as well. So, and also regarding Bondora, I think the simplicity. We are trying to build something that is so simple that anyone can use it, because investing sounds complicated, right? It sounds, to just a normal person who holds money in their bank account, it can sound a bit scary, invest a little complicated. but we've tried to make it so anyone can access it and anyone can just achieve the same results in a couple of clicks. And that's a real advantage of Bondora.
Next question. Most investors don't want to lose money, security in the event of a crisis, and make a quick and or immediate withdrawals. These items generate some disrupts among Bondora users. What can you say about this?
Yeah, I think no investor wants to lose their money.
Yeah.
But what is it that does not generates the concern, did you say?
It's because many users are simultaneously withdrawing money, so it's causing like the
I understand.
disturb.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think you already answered that in the question above. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just regarding the partial payouts, it's a feature that's always been there. It was built in from when we created Go and Grow, and it was exactly for this purpose. So I'd like investors to know that it's not something that we've just developed for this situation. It's always been there, and we've had investor protection from the beginning with this product. So with the goal, because not everybody wants to withdraw, right? You know, it kind of sounds like everyone does, but they're not. So for the people who don't want to withdraw, especially, they want to make sure that they're still getting the return that we promised them. So that's our goal with this feature, to continue to deliver on that promise to investors.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. This is a very long question. So, have you any prediction about the future of peer-to-peer investments, especially on your platform? Due to this crisis, there are companies who need money to keep going and not going bankruptcy, but in the other hand, investors are afraid to invest that money. Have you thought about some extra regulations or measures to protect investors that somehow are in risk of not being paid by the companies?
Yeah, and again, I should reiterate that we don't provide any guarantees.
Yeah.
We kind of want investors to see our track record and base their decisions that as part of their decisions. And my advice would be to any investors to be wary of any guarantees that are made with investing. But in terms of regulation, we are fully supportive of any kind of EU regulation, which is cross-border, and that all platforms and all kind of industries that have to abide to, because I think that will really grow investor trust in the industry. So that's something that we're definitely supportive of. And yeah, I think in terms of sustainability, like I said, our operating costs have dramatically decreased, especially mainly due to marketing as well at the moment. So we are not a company that needs to generate huge amounts of revenue, huge amounts of growth every year to be sustainable. And I think that gives investors a lot of confidence.
Yeah, that's a very strong point as well. Okay, since the loans come from only 3 countries, one from them is Spain and is struggling to the crisis, what are the measures to prevent the delays?
So I think one really great feature that is available for the people who have loans, we have a service for all of our borrowers called Be Secure. And it's a service that they can activate when they take the loan or at a later time as well. And this means that they can change their payment date, they can extend or reduce their loan schedules, and they can take payment holidays as well. So this gives them real flexibility with their loan, because sometimes people think that, what if governments impose some kind of regulation where they have to have a payment holiday in this period? Well, actually, they've always been able to do that with Bondora. So for us, we've always tried to give them that flexibility to help them in the difficult times that they have. So, and that's available for all of our borrowers in each country as well.
So, next question. How much of Grow and Grow funds are invested in D and C rated loans?
The investments in the per category are distributed in a similar way to the whole investment portfolio of Bondora. So we release a blog post every few months, which will give you a breakdown of what the distribution in the Go and Grow overall portfolio is per risk rating. So this can change, and I would advise you and your community to look at the more recent data which will come out within the next month, so you can see actually specifically what is in the portfolio at the moment.
And where can we see that information?
It will be on the Bondora blog. The last one was posted at the end of December, I think. So it's called the Go and Grow Portfolio Distribution post.
Okay. And
I can send it to you after so you can see it, but we'll post an updated one soon as well.
Okay. In the next month?
Yes.
Okay.
But we already have one available from a few months ago.
Okay, very well. So this was the last question. So this is really all I have for you.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Gustavo.
Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you for answering all the questions. It was very nice to meet you and talk to you. So until next time. Bye.
Yes, thank you. Bye.